Good evening to everyone, and you are welcome once again to another episode of the SIDAT HR Digest. As you know, we would try our best to digest topical issues in people management, and today is no exception. And for today, I am your host, 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐨, and I'm going to take you through today. So, as we have already advertised, or as you may be aware, our topic is one that is quite popular, one that is making a lot of waves, for lack of a better expression, in the corporate world particularly, and particularly also among HR practitioners. And it is the topic of managing cross-generational teams. It is even more important now than ever, given the strategic position HR plays in organizations. To get a grip on it, and we need to unlearn and relearn new ways to integrate the various work styles of a diverse workforce. And so, to help us digest this subject, we have a very seasoned guest who would shed some light on the subject matter. Before I go into bringing on the guest, I would want to talk about the SIDAT HR conference. And I want to ask you that, have you registered? Because it's just around the corner. It's going to be happening on the 26th of September at the 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐨𝐧. And so I need you to take note of this date. And if you haven't decided, then the question is, why haven't you decided? Especially if you're an HR practitioner. So I need you to make sure you book the date, 26th of September, 2024 is going to be at 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐴 Hotel. If you haven't taken leave, please start processing your leave now so that you have all the time to be able to enjoy this. If you've been to any of the past conferences, you know that this is worth your while, and so you need to be there. And as you have put it up on your screen, you can pick up the details there and then call us and we would assist you. So with that, I come back to my guest, who is no other person than Mr. Eric 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐴 Koranchi. I know within the HR circles, he's not a new person, but for anyone who might not know him, we have 𝐀𝐻𝐿 with us today. And 𝐀𝐻𝐿 has over 13 years experience and mastery in change management, coaching and mentorship, diversity management and international human resources management, performance management, compensation and benefits, and labor and industrial relations, as well as succession planning. So like I always say, our guests are usually very seasoned, and so this is no different. 𝐀𝐻𝐿 is, as we all call him, is also the group head of Human Resources and Administration at the Bank of Africa, Ghana. Prior to him joining Bank of Africa, he was the head of recruitment and talent management at ProCredit SLC and a mechanical engineering supervisor at Cadbury Ghana Limited. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our guest for today, 𝐀𝐻𝐿. How are we doing, 𝐀𝐻𝐿? And good evening to you.
I'm good. Happy Sunday to you and happy Sunday to your viewers online.
Great. Happy Sunday to you too. I know we need to thank the family for releasing you to us. We just keep you for an hour.
They'll be sending an invoice to you guys.
No problem. No problem. We'll top it up for them.
Right.
It's great to have you here. Welcome once again.
Same here. It's good to be back here. I think it's been almost a year the last time I was here. So
okay.
It's great.
So we need to bring you in more often.
I hear what you are saying. I hear what you're saying.
You hear, but you don't hear. Right.
Right.
Okay. So without wasting too much time, I want to just jump straight in. But as I always like to do with every subject that happens, I'd want us to start off on a good note in terms of understanding. So could you help us understand what we mean by cross-generational teams? What does the term really mean? And I know other people use it in different ways. And most importantly, after defining that, why has it become such a huge topical issue, especially in the workplace? You can take that.
Okay. Thank you, Ophelia. So every business or every company is a going concern. What it means that companies naturally would want to live beyond their owners. So there are companies that are 5 years old, hoping to be 10, hoping to be 20. There are companies that are 15 years old, hoping to be 30, hoping to be 40. Now, as the company grows, we have different generations of employees entering and leaving the company. So you would get to a point in time where you have different people from different, for want of a better term, era or different generations working in that company. So when we talk about cross generation, we're basically talking about a company or a working space that have different generations of workers together at the same point or at a particular point in time. So basically, when we talk about cross generation, that's what we're talking about. Having different generation of workers at the company at a particular point in time. So that's basically the simple definition or explanation of what we mean by cross-generational teams.
Okay. And the other side of the question is why it sounds like it doesn't take rocket science to understand that. Why is it suddenly so a big issue that everywhere you pass it's a topical issue? Why is it that?
Right. So just to explain why it's become a topical issue, the whole HR front has evolved over time. Some years ago, we're talking about social welfare. It was just social work. It was just managing people's payments. It was just managing people's salaries and all that. Then it changed to how do you call it? It changed to personnel management, where now it was a bit more of administrative functions. Then later it became human capital, where the human being was seen as part of the factors of production. And so human beings were considered to be one of the various resources to production, just like machines, just like finances. Then now it evolved when it became strategic, and HR was supposed to be concerned about bottom line. So he moved to the strategic HR. Now it is slowly shifting to what we call the people and culture. This is so because the borders of countries are being flattened now, and companies are traveling far and wide to set up, to spread, to penetrate new markets. You are ending up having people from different jurisdictions, different countries and cultures entering into a space. And so now you're having different origins, different people, different upbringings, different societal norms all coming together, and they need to work to be able to produce for the company to be successful. In the same period, innovation and technology keeps evolving. And so now you're getting different people who understand technology differently, who appreciate and use technology differently, who are innovative and creative, who would want to use creativity to gain market share and to grow market space. And so in all this, what now makes the focus is not just managing the talents of people, but now you are managing the emotions of people. You're managing the cultural beliefs of people. You are managing the social beliefs of people. You are managing the thinking abilities of people. So it changes the whole focus from seeing human beings as capital or just as resources. But now you see them as more of talents. You see them more of people. You see them more of who they are internally, and then being able to manage them so together they can work. And that is why the whole idea of cross-generational teams is a big deal now. Because if you don't get to understand the cultures of the various generations, if you don't get to understand the qualities or the characteristics of the various generations, if you don't get to understand the people from the various generations, then you would end up using one approach to manage everybody. You would get some section being satisfied and having a great dissatisfaction with another section. And so if you understand, and our environment has a way of shaping us. So if you understand the era people were born within and their upbringing, it gives you an idea how their cultural makeup and how their ethics and values are, and it helps you shape the things that you're supposed to do so that collectively they can come together and increase productivity or be productive as you expect them to be. So that's how come now it's become very topical, because now you're not just recruiting people and bringing them, you're not just paying salaries, you are not just managing leave rosters, you're not just managing files. You're managing a staff, but in the moment, at that same time, you're managing that staff's spouse who's in the house. You're managing that staff's children who are at school. At the same time, you're managing that staff's mother who is somewhere. So you're not just managing the person there, you're managing the person's emotions, you're managing the person's close relations, you're managing the person's abilities and skills, you're managing the person's thought process. So it makes it topical and essential for HR leaders to understand.
Right. So, I mean, your responses bring up a few other follow-up questions. For starters, oftentimes when this has come up in conversations, the way you approach the answers from companies expanding and looking for global presence and all of it. Unfortunately, at least in the Ghanaian context, that is not how the conversation even starts. The conversation starts on a very negative tangent in terms of a particular generation taking the heat for being a certain way. But you've shed some light on it in a very beautiful way for us to understand actually what goes behind the conversation, the subject matter. It goes beyond just a Generation X, or is it a Gen Z? It goes beyond a Gen Z situation. But it's like the focus is on one particular generation. And oftentimes that I've read around the subject matter, it's always about picking up the generations and not necessarily what has led to why the focus is now on the various generations. So I hear you very loud and clear on that. Thank you so much.
Actually, if you do a bit of research, what we are experiencing now and the sentiments around it is not different from what was experienced in the early 90s, not different from what was experienced in the 1960s, what was experienced in the 1940s. At every point in time, when a new generation comes and there's a shift, there's always the sentiment coming across as this new group of people have come and it's all about them. Then everybody gets used to it, the system gets used to it. Then when another generation comes, those who were complaining before now also join, or those who were being complained against now also join the bandwagon to also complain. So these Gen Zs you're talking about, in some years to come, I mean, understand, in the next few minutes, I'll walk through the various generations that we have, that there's another generation that would come from 2025 and per projections and all that. The Gen Zs also start complaining about them. That what is the sensation about these people? It's a vicious, never-ending cycle. So it's normal. So I think since you mentioned Gen Zs now, let me just help the listeners to walk through the various generations that we have had. So if you start from the early 1940s, so from the 1946, 1945 to the 1964. We had what we call the baby boomers. Now, the baby boomers were born around that period, between 1946 to 1964. So what it means is that baby boomers basically would be around the ages of 60 to 78. Beyond this year, you will hardly have a lot of baby boomers in the corporate institutions for countries that have the retirement age to be 60. For countries that have retirement age to be 55, what it means is that you would hardly have baby boomers in the corporate space, so you would not have to deal with them. But basically, people between the ages of 60 and 78 years fall within the baby boomers generation. Now, for the baby boomers generation, these are people who were growing around the period. It was period after the world wars and all that, so there was a bit of stability. The economies were prospering very well. There were a lot of cultural shifts. There were a lot of generational or social changes. So their experience around that time had to do with economic prosperity. And so if you check their characteristics, if you check the things that they value, you will notice that it's a bit different from other generations. If you move to the next generation that comes after that, is what we call the Generation X. X for xylophone. Now, Generation X is from 1965 to 1980. So anybody born from the year 1965 to the year 1980, that is those 44 years to 59 years, they are the Generation X. We have a bit of them in a lot of the corporate institutions. The 44, the 45, up to the 59s. They are the Generation X. They are the phase that comes after the baby boomers. They are the ones who have worked in the company longest. They were there when the company started. They were there when policies were being put together. So they have a better understanding of why things were done at the time they were done. So they are the true storytellers. They understand things very well. However, in their generation, if you study, there were a lot of political disturbances, there were a lot of economic disturbances, there were a lot of social disturbances in their period. And so these are people who have seen a lot of ups and downs. They've seen a lot of famine, they've seen a lot of drought, they've seen a lot of wars, they've seen a lot of coup d'etats, these people, this generation. So the way they appreciate things, the way the things they hold valuable, the things they pride themselves in are totally different from what the baby boomers had.
Yeah.
Now, after this generation, there's another generation called the Generation Y, popularly known as the millennials. That is the generation I fall within. Now, this generation starts from the 1981 and ends in 1996. So from 1981 to 19, and they are basically those from 28 years to 43 years. Now, the middle or majority of employees in companies fall within the circle. And again, majority of the unemployed also fall within the circle. So when we talk about the young people, majority is made up of the millennials. Now, this generation also grew up to a time where there was a rapid shift to technological changes. And then there was a sudden introduction of what we call social media. So they were just there in the early 80s, then just in the early 90s, technology starts booming. All of a sudden, computers become a household name. There's social media. There's, those days we were having Ghana Web that we were chatting on. That's where the Yahoos and the Hotmails, the Hotmail.co. Exactly. High fives and the rest were coming. So this is that generation. So they also appreciate things. The good thing for this generation, they have a mixture of the before, the Generation X, and then the technology. So in companies, they also have a particular attitude and a particular value system that they appreciate. Then now there's the Generation Z. The Generation Z is from the 1997 to the 2012. Is it? Yes, 2012 generation. So that is the Generation Z, people born within that period. Mostly around now, they should be around 12 years to 27 years. Because if the person was born in 1997 and we are in this 2004, the person should be around 13 years, 14 years. So there are people around 12 to the 27 years. They were born into a period where social media had taken over. They were born into a period where there was widespread technological adoption. And so these people are entrepreneurial by nature. They are individualistic. They don't, and they are people who were protected. Most of them, their parents were either the latter part of the Generation Y or the early part of the Generation X. And these were the people who protected their children from experiencing the world. And so they are the children who are, for want of a better term, pampered and have been taught to live on their own by themselves with their siblings. So they have a different thinking, they have a different upbringing, they get everything that they want from their parents. You hardly get them struggling for certain things, unlike the previous generations. Now there's a new generation that is yet to come. They are they call them so we have them around them, and they're the Generation Alpha. So there's beyond the Z, there's Alpha. Alpha have not come into the picture much because they've not got into the working age yet. But they are those basically between the ages of 0 to 11 years. So those from 2030 to 2025, they are within the Generation Alpha. Now, this is a generation that is made up of AI technology, a generation, they are the ones that when you just put your phone down, they can just pick and go to YouTube without you even the mother or father knowing that it's on your computer. You wonder whether they were having YouTube when they were in their mother's womb, but that's the generation. Beyond this generation, there's another one called the Generation Beta. they will also come from 25, and they will be in a generation where we are talking about advanced use of the AI technology, visual imaging, and all those things. So basically, if you understand that there are these different generations, and you understand the times within which they were born, what were the peculiar economic situations, social situations, technological situations in the time, it would help you better appreciate their values. It will help you better appreciate their ethics, and then know how, as a manager or as a company owner or as an employer, to bring all together to better put them to use. So that's
Right.
basically an overview of the various generations that we have as of now.
Right. Thank you so much for that breakdown. That was quite comprehensive, and that's a lot of information. And I think looking at it from the informational aspect of it rather than the critical aspect of it, it opens you up, if you would, to to different dynamics at play. But let me not jump the gun. So my next question was going to be about the typical characteristics, but I think even your response has touched on it here and there a little bit. But I'll still want to ask it anyway. That what
Mm,
are those typical characteristics and values that
mm.
these different generations have?
Okay. So if you pick the baby boomers, like I mentioned, they are people who value hard work. You know, they are the ones that, in fact, they have formed most of the our should I say, idiomatic expressions. They are the ones who have formed all the slogans and terms in society. They are the ones
Yeah.
that make you understand that hard work pays. They make you understand that if you go to work and you come back, you should have somebody at home asking you. I mean, those who understand boko, you should come home and feel that today I have worked. They appreciate hard work, and there are people who are disciplined. They were the generation that came right after a world war, so there was a certain bit of authoritarian leadership for them. They were straight and proper, clean kind of line upbringing for them. So they are very disciplined. They are very loyal. Those ones can work in companies for 30, 40 years and not move and go anywhere. That is the baby boomers. Those are their values. Now, when you have these people, you know that these are loyal people. Even when things are, I mean, our grandmothers, as and now, you know, if you ask them what bank they were saving with, they'll tell you they had only one bank account. And even when they go on pension, that is the only bank that they all go and queue there to wait for their pension fund. That is how loyal they were. Whether the bank was good or the bank was bad, that is it.
Yeah.
There were those ones who, even if the husband is good, the wife is good, they stay in marriages, they don't complain, because you dare not go home and say that my husband is doing A, B, and C, so I can't marry again. That is how they were. They were disciplined. They were taught to be committed to something that you pick up. And so for them, if you are with them or if they are with you, loyalty is assured. Now, when you have such people in your workspace as employers, you tend to take them for granted, because no matter what it is, they won't go anywhere. So they will stay there, they will stay there, you can do whatever, you don't increase salaries, you don't do anything. They will just remember and say, what you are doing, that's not, but they won't leave. They would stay there. Just one or two of them would be the ones that would jump ship and go to another company. So those are baby boomers, and they find pride in their accomplishments. So they feel proud that, wow, I have worked in this company for this number of years. I am part of the pioneers of this company. All they want is recognition when something is happening, even if you are not paying him well, and just mention his name at a staff function, they feel good about it. That is
Right.
that generation. They are more dedicated to their communities, even than their families. So they want to do things that community recognizes them. Waking up in the morning, dressing and going to work, and they call them bank manager. They are happy. Whether they can afford a square meal or not, once the community sees them as a bank manager and recognizing them as such, bank manager, this is the house of this bank manager. Oh, this is the house of this chemist. Oh, engineer, this person's house. That is all they care about. Accomplishment, people knowing them that they have established themselves and they are successful in whatever it is that they are doing. So for baby boomers, this is what is the common traits with them. Now, if you move to the Generation X, which is the generation that comes right after the baby boomers, they are a generation that appreciates a bit of self-reliance. They would want to do things by themselves, and they are very practical. They are pragmatic people. I mean, if this thing can be done, let's do it. Why are you going to worry yourself and let's talk about theory and prove and reports? No, no, no. They are pragmatic. So the Generation X hit it on the ground, let's go. And they are that generation that did a lot of coup d'etat. If you check, most of the coup d'etat leaders are people who fall within this generation. We won't sit down for us to suffer every day. Let's just get it out. Let's use force. Let's use, pardon my listeners who can't understand P. Let's use giddy giddy. Let's just rush things and get it done. That's that generation. Now, this generation, when they are in your workspace, they are very independent and they are self-reliant. They don't need anybody to tell them what to do. On their own, they figure out what they have to do. Whether how they are going to do it is in the hard way or the easy way, whether it's the short way or the long way, they'll just get it done. They are very self-reliant. They don't care whether other team members are available or not. Theirs is to make sure that what has to be done is supposed to be done. And they are very practical. When you're giving them long talk, and you are now okay, you have to go through A, B, and C. They don't have that time to waste. Very pragmatic, very solution-oriented. If the work has to be done, let it be done. When we finish, we can clear the process and do the things you're supposed to do. But this generation also value work-life balance. They love their homes. They love their children. They love being at home. Everything that they are building it for their children. And so, like I mentioned earlier, it's this generation that are the ones who struggle out there just so their children will have a better living and not go through the struggles that they also go through. So they are the ones that pamper their children a lot. They are the ones that if you're a teacher in school and you dare lay a hand on their child, they will come and raise hellfire at school because you lash their children. That is that generation, the Generation X. They prefer to, I mean, if they need something to be done, they are flexible and they can adapt to every situation that is given or brought their way. Now, if we move to the next generation, which is the millennials or the Generation Y, which, like I mentioned, I'm sure you also form part of that, that generation. This generation is a generation, like I mentioned, has a mixture of the previous and a bit of the digital. So they are very diverse and they are very inclusive. They have a very creative spirit. They don't take this cannot be done for an answer. They will keep pushing. Why? They do not just say that, okay, this is how we have been doing it all along, so let's continue. They are the ones who want to find, is there not a better way to want to do this? Can we not do this in a different way? That is that generation. So this generation are always challenging the status quo. They are always trying to push to find out whether we can improve the situation. They don't care about the risk. They are prepared to take on the risk. They are prepared to face opposition. They've been taught by their parents who were the Generation X to challenge authority, to speak when they are not happy, to go before management and present their thoughts and not be afraid that management would see them to be too known or too knowing. That's this generation. They also value work-life balance, but then they also value social life. That is, they value spending time with friends, value spending time with old schoolmates, value spending time to do things that will help society. So social responsibility is something that is on the heart of these people. So you realize that these people, most often, one or two people come together, oh, let's do this thing and support this cause. Let's do this thing and support this school. Or we've seen a school of maybe deaf and dumb. Let's go and support them. Let's put money together to buy sanitary pads. This is that generation. They value this kind of lifestyle. Now, if we move to the next generation, which is the Generation Z, now the Generation Z is a generation that has come in the midst of social media. So they are hyper-tech generation. They are very savvy when it comes to tech, and then they like using digital solutions in doing things. For these people, they've been taught to be independent. So they hardly would want to work in a space where they are regulated and told how to even dress or where to sit or how to go about things. They want to be in their own space to do their own thing, work on their own terms, do things on their own basis, When they are comfortable, they will do it. When they are not comfortable, they will not do it. And this generation have been taught to challenge every social and cultural thinking that you have. So it's no surprise that it's this generation that thinks certain social vices or certain disorder in society seems to be on the lookout or on the high around this period. Because for this generation, they have come, and then once there's social liberty, once there's digital liberty, once there's technological liberty, they are privy to a lot of things. So they question. So they are the ones who question you. Why are you saying that a man should marry a woman, and not a man and a man? Why not a woman and a woman? Because they've been opened up to see a lot of things, and they challenge a lot of things. For them, they are entrepreneur in spirit. So if they work with you 1 year, 2 years, and you are not meeting their need, they'll just leave and go and do their own thing. And that generation, unlike the millennials are the ones who are hoping to be rich, to be millionaires, billionaires. Generation Z are not like that. Generation Z are basically about being able to make enough to take care of themselves. So if it means they are going to work once or twice in a week and then just get money to live happily and live whatever it is, they don't care. Partly because they don't have any children at this point. I'm sure in the future when they start getting children, that thinking will change. But for now, it's about getting money, making investments in things so that I can work less and my investments will work for me. So they are very entrepreneurial. If you look out for those who are doing TikTok, those who are doing Instagram, those who are getting a lot of following, there are people in this generation. They don't want to do a lot of hard work. They don't want to sweat. They say you have to think smart. You work smart and you don't work hard. So for them, it's about working smart. For them to sit and think through hours and hours to prepare a policy, they'll just go to Meta AI and type it in and copy, edit it and bring it to you. They want to think smart. So even the way they speak, last week I was talking to somebody and the person was telling me that now instead of saying that you look nice, they can just say you look tea. And I'm like, what does it mean you look tea? And they say, yes, that's the new term. So now they don't even say, because the tea you drink is nice. But I'm saying nice is 4-letter words, tea is 3-letter words. What's the difference? You are just saving yourself one letter. But that's the generation. They want to change everything they came to meet. If you meet two Generation Zs having a chat, you can stand there and be wondering what they are saying. By the same way, if you go before, when certain generations were speaking in thou and thine and old duet, when they also come and they hear us speaking, they're like, what are these people saying? So it's like that, it's evolving. But understanding the characteristics, understanding the values, understanding the ethics of each generation as a manager would make it easy for you to be able to properly work with them. For example, if you have a company and you understand very well that baby boomers were there from the onset, it makes you understand that these are people who understand policies. They know why the policies were put in place. They were there when the policies were being put in place. They were there when the difficulties were happening and policies were put in place. So if anybody is there and does not understand something, they are the best people to come and explain to you why A, B, C, and D was put there. And if you take it away, what are the possible things that will happen? So you need them there because it will be your reference point for you to go and ask, oh, how are we doing this thing? Why did we do this? For you to be able to change. If you don't have them, they have the history in their minds. So they are like the working history book of the companies. If you move on to Generation X, there are people who have problem-solving skills. They are pragmatic. So once a problem comes, if you're going to fall on a baby boomer, the baby boomer will take his time to solve the problem. By the time you finish solving the problem, another problem has come. But if you have people from the Generation X, they are problem solvers. So once the problem comes and you throw it at them, they are running and solving the problem. So if you have that, the Generation X is solving the problem, the baby boomer is in the back and is doing the documentation to support the Generation X. At the end of the day, the problem is solved. Somebody else stayed behind to do the policy and then everything to solve it. But if you leave the Generation X alone, you go and solve it and come back and realize that, but the thing I did, I don't think about the risk involved. I don't think about the cost. I have solved the problem, it has cost me more. But the baby boomer would now be sitting there and doing the calculations, putting the cost and telling my friend, if you go this option, this will happen. Then the Generation X will try another solution. So when you have these two in the mix, it makes it easy. Now, when you have the Generation Y and the Z in there, they are creative thinkers. So once one person is solving the problem, once one person is doing the risk analysis and the cost implication, another one is finding out a creative way to solve the problem. So at the meeting when we are discussing, the generation X person is bringing a solution. The generation Z and the millennial are thinking of what smart way can we go about this solution so that the cost that the baby boomer is bringing on board will no longer be a cost. So in that one meeting, these four generations bringing their characteristics together, bring a better impact. By the time they finish their meeting, they will have a solution which is cost effective, very creative, very innovative, and will solve the problem. Because each of the generations brought their experience to bear on the problem. So basically, if you understand the characteristics of each of them, and you are forming project teams, you are forming giving assignments, you know how to put people together to be able to get the best out of it.
Right, right. Fantastic. Wow. That puts a lot of things in perspective. I mean, when you talk of the millennials, for instance, once you were talking, I was like, so that would explain why in our time we began hearing a lot of CSR, CSR, CSR,
Yes.
CSR.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of
Yes.
sense now.
Yes.
And that would also make a lot of sense why the cool example you made, for instance, because they are very pragmatic. They are like hands-on. We go, it's a do or die. We're just going.
Yes.
So that's quite enlightening. Thank you so much, Kojo. Before my next question, let's see the comment section. We have Elaine Hammond. She's giving you fans. She says, "Teacher Kojo, Elaine." And then we have Josephine Aqua watching from Takoradi. Zachary Salamat says, "Good evening, Elizabeth Asari. Nice to see you again, Kojo." Sophia Tijani, thanks for this engagement. I'm happy to be here. I'm watching from Sebreport. Okay, Sebreport. Anyway. And then we have who else? Josephine Aqua says the topic's background was thoroughly and informatively covered, shaping our understanding of the topic. Kojo, great to have you again. Kofi Ajin says you can't miss Teacher Kojo's class. Now you have a title, Teacher Kojo. Thanks for giving us more details on the various generations we have. And indeed, Kojo's class is always enlightening. Barbara Reina Micah says, glad to be here. Missed the beginning though. Oh, Barbara, you can always catch the playback on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So no worries about that at all. But good to have you here, Barbara. So please keep the messages coming. Drop your comments, drop your questions whilst we still have Kojo so that we pull out all the information from him as much as possible. And as I said in the beginning, please make sure everyone here, Josephine, Barbara, Kofi,
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure Ophelia is having some difficulties, but basically, I think we have about 40 minutes more. I'll just ask you what questions you would have asked me, and I would attempt to speak to it. So after explaining to you what the characteristics for these generations are, the next obvious question to ask would be, as a company or as an employer or as a manager, what would be the benefit of having a cross generational team? Well, if you pick the example I gave earlier with regards to having people from different generations in a project, you would notice that if you have a cross generational team, there is easy sharing of knowledge. So the Generation Z person does not know why the policy was put. I mean, a Generation Z person doesn't understand why a dress code is important. I wear a beard. I go to the office. The baby boomers are asking, "Hey, banking, you don't wear beard," and all those things. Now, as a millennial, my confusion would be, or my question would be, or my preoccupation would be, is it what I can contribute that you're concerned about, or my beard? Does my beard take away the work I'm doing? But the baby boomer and the Generation X is thinking there is a prescribed code for how bankers, how pharmacists, how engineers are supposed to look. And so if you don't have the benefit of somebody explaining to you why bankers wear suit, why pharmacists wear white, why mechanics wear an overcoat, why A, B, and C is done, why is this paid at the workplace, why do we pay salaries at this time, why do we put in this code of conduct, everybody will come and feel like, oh, I mean, these laws don't matter. I mean, if you're on social media, you see how the Generation Zs seem to belittle every cultural ideology, making it look like our grandfathers were not thinking, they were not rational people. But if you take time and they explain to you why things are the way they are, it makes it easy for you not to fall in a mistake or fall in the trap that they fell in that resulted in them having that policy. And so it's important that in a cross-generational team, it brings about good knowledge sharing. Again, you can have people of older generations mentoring the younger ones, because if you pick somebody who just wants to go, a millennial or a Generation X person who just wants to go, all they think about is solution, solution, solution. And you don't have somebody mentoring him from a higher or an older generation, showing him that, okay, if you go this path, these are the possible hindrances that you get. If you go this way, these are the possible challenges that you face. If that generation is not there to mentor them, they will end up making a lot of mistakes. I mean, imagine putting a bank or putting an insurance company or putting a fast food in the hands of a Generation Z without any experienced person holding their hands. They'll run it down. because in their head it's all about profit, 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 short ways to make profit, easier ways to go, how to be creative with the things they eat. If a Generation Z person has cooked for you to eat before, it's fast food. It's just not wasting time to go through the difficult rudiments of the cooking and all those things. So they want the fast. So if you don't have somebody mentoring them, holding them, coaching them to show them why certain things that they would have overlooked is important, they would run, give you a very good profit for a certain period of time, and before you realize, everything comes crashing because it was not a thought through process. Now, the diversity also helps in decision making, because if you leave it for only the Generation X to be in the company, if you have a company where actually 44 years and above people there, what it means is that you always be slow to react to the market. So, I mean, if you pick technology, for instance, some companies easily died off. Some companies easily could not compete with competition because the people that they had as their programmers, the people that they had as their designers, the people that they had as their technicians were people from the baby boomer age. And so even when technology was changing, even when the human needs were changing, they were slow to adapt to the technological needs. Let me give you a clear example, no disrespect. But a lot of us know the television stations we have in Ghana. One of them has a lot of baby boomers and then the early Generation X in there. So a lot of us don't even watch those TV programs. Why? Because before they would program or telecast a news or let's say a documentary, would have gone through a lot of processes of people assessing. Has to go to director 1, director 2, director 3, director 4 for them all to sign off before it comes. By that time, the news have been broken already. But we want the fast ones that the moment the thing happens, the person is standing by the dead body and is giving an announcement. So I'm standing next to the body of A, B, and C, and the currently being moved to the morgue. So we are all moving there. So if you have a company that does not have a mixture of these two people, you realize that you are doing business, but nobody is patronizing. Nobody is bringing adverts to your television station or your radio station. If I mention one of those TV stations or radio stations, a lot of people don't listen. But the people from that generation listen there because they find their news credible. Because they feel that these people go through a lot of work before they bring it. If they are not sure, they would not say it on radio. So if you have people from that generation and people from the fast-moving generation together, you realize that this person is double checking to make sure that you don't come and say something that will get us sued at the end. And at the same time, this person is also finding a nice way where I can bring fresh news, entertainment, bring something that will get people to come and watch us so we can make money. So having them, that diversity in place, having a mixture of them in place, improves the decision making, improves the innovative spirit in the company. However, if you have a diverse or cross-generational workforce, also, it also has some negatives. Some of the negatives would be competition between the various generations. Like when we started, the host was asking, everybody thinks that Generation Z people want to cut corners. So when a Generation Z person is working with you and is trying to get things done easily, people don't want to even give them information to do the work because they feel if this guy starts doing it, they would make all noise and everybody will hear about them and nobody would know I supported them. And so they struggle to get information and they get bored and they leave. And so there's unhealthy competition if it is not properly managed well. Now there are issues with communication. The baby boomer generation are the ones who prefer written communication. They want memos. They want documents to come for everybody to sign on it. They want the document to be put in a particular order. Another generation prefers to do everything email. He just wants to send an email to you, approve it in an email. He'll tell you that the signature in the email is your signature. I don't need to print it out to sign. Another generation is saying that, look, we are supposed to be sustainable in living. I have my mobile phone in my hand. There's WhatsApp. I know it is you. Why can't you just give me an approval on WhatsApp so we can move on? Now, if you have these three generations, if you are sending a request to your manager who is a baby boomer on WhatsApp, that message will be pending forever and will never get an approval. Meanwhile, this Gen Z is waiting for you to say, okay, to go for him to or her to implement a thing. But you would want to come on Monday, let's have a meeting. Let's call all the various departments to sit around the table. Let's have coffee. Let's have a flip chart board there. Let's write the SWOT analysis. Let's do all those things. The Gen Z and the millennial does not have that time. He's just sending you, boss. They say the thing is 20,000 CDs. These are the benefits. Should I go ahead and do it? All he wants is you to say yes. That is the approval they want. So if you are not able to liaise or be able to reconcile these things, communication becomes a difficult area to manage when you are dealing with a cross-generational team. Again, the technological gap. There are people who were born before computer. When they are typing, they are doing A when A, B when A. They just use one finger like this and they can type everything like this. So those generations, if you have somebody from that generation, and then there are those ones who they just put their hand on the keypad and they are drawing like this and writes a whole sentence. There are those who speak and the computer translates it for them. So if you are not able to bridge this technological gap between these generations, you are likely to have a lot of challenges. And then the last one probably I'll touch on, I'm seeing that our time is almost up, is their work style differences. A Gen Z and a millennial wants to work from home. If work is what you want to be done, if I sit at home, I can do the work for you. Why should I sit through traffic, waste all that time, sit through traffic, pollute the environment, burn the fossil fuel to come to the office to do 8 to 5? When I can stay home, start to work from 7 o'clock and probably close 7 p.m., give you the reports that you need, make the sales that you have to do for you. Why should I be there? The Gen X and then the baby boomer want to see you because that's the discipline they have. They want to see you, even if you are sitting and not doing anything. They believe that's how you're working. So the work style or the work life of these people or the style of work for these people will be different. So if you have a manager who does not understand these things, would always be asking you, come to work, come to work, come to work. The millennial also feels, today my wife is not feeling well. My children, it's my child's opening day at school. Let me just go be there. I'll pick my laptop. I'll sit somewhere, hotspot it, and I'll work. Give you every report that you need. Why should I come physically? Why do you want to waste space, pay electricity, pay all those things for me when I can sit in my comfort of my home, use my own internet to do it for you? These are the work style differences that you have. One person says, I want to wake up in the morning, just wear my shorts, wear my t-shirts, sit behind the computer, and do all the work. Why should I go and spend money to buy suit and tie and be walking under this hot sun with my neck tied and come to the office? If you don't understand the work style differences of these two, you will struggle. Because for that other generation, if you don't do it, there's somebody in another country who's prepared to let them work remotely and pay them more. So you want to work remotely, do 2 or 3 jobs at the same time and make more money and have the fun. He wants to probably work within the day and at night go and have fun. Or he wants to work at night and within the day use that to do something else. That is the work life the person wants. That is the style the person wants to work. By a certain generation has been taught it's 8 to 5. It's called 8 to 5 work. If you come, you have 1 hour break, you finish, you come and sit. When you close, you shut down and you go. There are some who want to just work in their space. They don't need anybody talking to them. That's that generation. You call them antisocial, but that is their own. That is the generation. He's been taught that I work best when I'm working all by myself. I'll deliver my output to you. I'll give you an example. I have some colleagues who needed something to be done for her. Now, she needed to go to another colleague to go and ask for help. And she did not see why she should walk to that colleague. Her line manager, who is from the Generation X, walked to the other person to, can you help A, B, and C person? Now, that person he went to is also a Generation X, and they understood. When she came and told her that I was talking to this person and is willing to help you, so go and see her, she just said by her computer, dear A, B, and C, my manager says that he's spoken to you. Please let me know what and what. Their office is next to each other. A Generation X person wants you to walk to me and come and talk to me because he wants to feel that you respect me. They feel respected. They want that value of respect. The Generation Z and then the millennial feel like, I need something from you. Why should I come and beg you for it? You're supposed to give me this thing. So I'll send you the note. Do your own and let me do my own. And so if you don't understand these things well, you would even struggle with the kind of work-life balance. If you check, the people who are talking about work-life balance, remote working, they are not the baby boomers. They are not the Generation X people. No, it's the millennials and the Generation Z who are talking about work-life balance. People are now making a whole lot of noise. You mentioned earlier that the millennials are the ones who were talking more about CSR. The Generation Z are now talking about sustainability. They have moved from CSR to sustainability. They are thinking, I mean, this world will not be, if we keep going the way we are going, what world will be there tomorrow for us to do? So let me do things that I'll use less paper. Let me do things that I'll burn less fuel. Let me do things that I'm using less resource energy, so that society will be protected for the good of everybody. That is the Generation Z. So if you don't understand these two groups of people, one person is saying print on paper and bring for me to sign. Another one says, email is as good as a paper. Another one says, WhatsApp message is as good as an email. As a manager, you should be able to understand these different generations, be able to let each of them understand, bridge that communication gap, bridge that work-life balance gap, bridge that work style difference gap, to be able to bring the best out of your company. I don't know, Ophelia, whether you can hear me, but maybe to conclude, as a manager, what you can do to make efficient use of a cross-generational team, we want to encourage open communication. Open communication extends that you should understand and accept every form. If it's memos, take it. If it's emails, take it. If it's WhatsApp, take it. The most important thing is for you to have records to prove that indeed this was discussed. I mean, if somebody goes to labor court and you produce WhatsApp evidence, maybe, I don't know whether our laws now appreciate electronic communication. If it doesn't, then it's high time we change them to accept electronic communications. If I show it, it's evidence enough that you gave this to me. So we should have open communication where we understand that there are different generations and they appreciate things different. If the person wants a memo, give him a memo. If the person wants an email, give him an email. If the person wants a WhatsApp, send a WhatsApp. Accept every form of communication so that it becomes easy for them to interact amongst each other. There should be a lot of training and development to bring some up to speed, because now the world is moving fast and technology is coming in. So that generation that does not appreciate technology, bring them up to speed to be able to make better use of technology to bridge that gap. You can also talk about culture inclusivity and diversity, including all cultures and all demographics. Have sessions as an organization where team members do things together. I mean, have Thank God It's Friday moments. Let them go and sit there, play music from the 60s up to the 2024, so that you appreciate every generation of music. Start from get on it, move on and go. Break age, come and get to our current age where we are playing the kind of 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐻 so every generation understand that, oh, so around this time it was break music. Oh, around this time it was calypso. Oh, around this time it was hip hop. Let them all understand that there are differences. And then if you sit with them and you chat with them socially, you begin to get a certain connection. When you bring it back to your office, it brings a very good, productive work culture. The last one I'll touch on is for a manager to identify the qualities of each team member and play on their strength. If you're forcing a baby boomer on the Generation Z X person to be tech savvy, you are killing yourself and you are worrying yourself. Because it's not something that they would love. So rather than doing that, concentrate on their strength. They are paper people, they are race people, they are paper trail people, they are policy people, they are procedure people. So concentrate on them. Give that aspect of the job to them. Put them in departments that they will be playing those roles. And then put the tech savvy ones, the creative ones, the problem solving ones, the millennials, the Generation Z, a bit of the generation, latter part of Generation Y's, pragmatic ones, in departments that are doing sales, departments that are doing creative thinking, doing research, coming out with innovative ideas. So you are playing on the strength of every generation. Collectively, it will come out good because everybody will feel valued and everybody would give the time they are supposed to give. If the person is a programmer and can work best from their home, there's no point asking the person to come and sit in the office if the person has the resources to do from their home. Put in measures to monitor the person's reporting, put in measures to monitor the person's output, and let the person work from there. If you are able to understand it this way, it would work very well for us as managers. It will work very well for us as business people. It will work very well for us as business owners. And we can evolve with time and be able to make better use of the characters of the various generations. Right.
Right. Thank you so much, Kojo. And sorry about the breaking transmission from earlier. Network issues. It's been a.
I'm from a generation that is pragmatic, so I knew how to continue. So
take over. Thank you so much for holding the fort. I mean, our time is up, but what you just said, it just triggered a question. So maybe I'll just quickly ask that. So with all that you've said, I think we'd have to find a way of looking into how we even bring the various generations in recruitment.
Yes.
What are a few things, excuse me, what are those little things we can do as practitioners when it comes to recruitment to factor in role versus what's suitable generation to look for? How do we tackle this issue when it comes to the entry point recruitment?
I'm one practitioner who believes so much in behavioral skills over technical skills. I think it's high time HRs who are doing recruitment pay equal attention to behavioral skills as they pay to technical skills. If you do that, what it means is that if you are designing any job content, if you are designing any job, the content of the job, if you are designing the specification, the people specification for a job, you will not only ask yourself what educational qualification this person has or needs. You not only talk about the technical aspect, you will now pay attention to the behavioral aspect, which will now inform which generation of workers will better position in this role. Now, if you know that you are going to do, you are advertising a job that is control in nature, it's supposed to be a job that is supposed to control people, a job that is supposed to put in blocks to prevent people from going without any controls. It will be wrong or will not be proper to advertise that job and be recruiting a Gen Z in there. No, because that person's personal qualities or characteristics is not one who pays attention to risk and controls. They are free flowing. And so when you're doing this recruitment, at the back of your mind, you should know the kind of person you want. And in your interviews, you know what you are looking at for, except aside the person rambling and telling you all the things. Because now, if you're coming for an interview, you can go to look for an AI to sample questions for you. You can chew them and come and rattle them. And it will tell you that this person can do the job. But when you're bringing the person starts working Monday in the morning, Sunday, Saturday, the person gets drunk. Monday morning, has hangover, just sends you a message that today I can't come. Tuesday he comes, the person is dragging himself because he's still tipsy. And now you are fighting with this person and wondering, you can't do this here. But if you had paid attention during recruitment, you would have noticed that the generation that this person comes from, these are certain traits that they possess. So if you are bringing them in to play this role, they need to be careful. Same way, if you are bringing somebody in to come and manage a digital department, an IT department, a sales department, an MIS department, a department that constantly is facing evolution. Bringing somebody from Generation Y or the baby boomer generation or even Generation X sometimes will be a challenge because these people they don't adapt to change easily. So you need to now look for people who, if it changes, they will change with it. People who can use different mediums. I got to know recently that there's a platform called, is it Read Me or something, that if you go, whatever question you have, when you put it there, it's a community of people who can give you a lot of solutions. I had a friend was sharing with me, a colleague. Reddit, yes. I didn't even know about it. I was sitting, I was having an engagement with somebody, and they mentioned that it's a platform called Reddit. When you go there, you put in, no matter what it is. If you want to ask them, how can you go and rob a house without being caught? You have experts there who teach you how to do it.
Every subject will be answered there. It's a very good
You understand? Platform. So if I'm coming for an interview and I go, this question there. They will ask, tell me all the possible things. There are HR practitioners there who will tell you what to know. So if you are just going with the answers the person is going to give you at an interview, you will recruit somebody who will come in there and realize that behaviorally the person does not fit.
Right.
So know what you are recruiting for, know who you want, and during your interview, pay attention to who you want. If you don't pay attention to the who you want, you will get what you want, but you don't get who you want to do that what for you. And you will always struggle. And it will not match. The person is not happy. You are also not happy.
Right.
There are certain rules that you can't give to a Generation Z person. Because if it's a job that requires meeting of targets, you can't give to a Generation Z person. But that person doesn't want to be shouted on, to be corrected, and to be told that, my friend, you are not performing, and somebody is screaming at them. No, they'll stop the job and leave it for you. They'll come and tell me, I'm not happy. You are stressing me. I'm stressed. That generation don't want that. But if you give it to a Generation Z, Generation X, or a Generation Y person, they are disciplined people and they've been taught to go through the mill. So if you are looking for marketers, these are the best people to go for marketers. Because when they are going and it gets difficult, don't come and cry and tell that manager the thing is not, and they'll say the thing is not turning, or the account is not accounting, or the deposit is not depositing. And yes, and they will tell you, feel me, and the manager, man, you don't understand what I'm. Oh, no, when I tell you, you are stressing me, you are getting on my nerves. No, not that generation. But there's a generation when you are shouting on them, look, if you don't do this, you will not go home. They understand what it means because that's how they have been brought up. But then there's a generation who wants to work with large and do things in their own. When they achieve 1 out of 1,000, they want to go and celebrate it because if your child, today, if your child comes with a report card and has scored all once, and you're like, oh, that's nice, and you put it aside, they'll go in their room and say, mommy and daddy don't love me. They want you to hold them and say, oh, let's go out and go and celebrate. Let me go and do this for you. That is that generation. Our generation, when you score, they'll ask you, did somebody in your school not get one in the one you got to? Why is it not you? And you see that with motivation. Next time when you go, you have to do better. So if you don't understand the characteristics of these two generations, you will come and you are giving somebody pressure. And before you realize one day you come and the person has put in resignation letter, immediate effect. I can't do it again. You were like, I was just giving the person, I was encouraging the person, motivating the person, but that person did not see it as motivation. So as recruiters, yes.
But where do we draw the line, really? Where do we draw the line in terms of, yes, we know the generational traits and all of that, and please indulge me for another 5 minutes, please. These are the generational traits. We get that, but the Gen Zs would grow, and there would be the need for, at some point, for them to rise up to managerial positions. And if at this budding stage, they have such challenges, less resilience, less, quote unquote, I'm using this word very advisedly, less discipline or less gumption, whatever the appropriate word is, where do we draw the line between this is how it's supposed to be done versus this is what your generation requires? How do we blend it so that they know the value in having to put in the hours, put in the quality, and XYZ versus it's not so difficult.
I think for me, the question I would rather ask is, why should we even draw a line in the first place? Why should there be a line? The point is that if you are growing on the strength of everybody, then the Gen Z would have somebody from the millennial or from the Gen X generation who will be mentoring him to tell you that, look, your zeal is good, but pay attention to these things. So every day somebody is mentoring, and that's what I mentioned earlier. If you have them in teams, they are those who be good at mentoring. So a lot of times, you hear, and it's funny, even in our public sector or in our political spaces, we get it, that somebody is gone on pension or has acquired the age of 60 years and has been given a contract to stay extra. And you hear the Gen Z and the millennials complaining, they are old, let them go. We have to take up the job, but we don't understand it. Because these people have a certain skill that they need to be there to mentor us. If they leave it for us the way we want them to leave it, we will crash it. So the line, if there's supposed to be any line drawn, that line has to be drawn at the point where all generations are at the place. Put in a proper mentorship program. Assign Gen Zs and millennials to Generation X and Generation Y people. Let them mentor them to understand. When I hear people saying that, and like you said, on quotes, that the Generation Zs are not disciplined. I ask, who are the parents of Generation Zs? They don't go and learn the indiscipline on the street. They learn it from our homes. So if we did not discipline them, who do we expect to discipline them on the street for us? If we do not take up the mentorship to mentor these ones, to say that if we leave the Ghana for them, if we leave Africa for them, if we leave the world for them, there will not be any world in the next 30 years or 40 years. So we need to groom them properly. Nobody will do it for us. So is there a line supposed to be drawn? No, because bottom line, they are in teams. Make it a responsibility of an older generation to mentor the younger ones. Would they easily accept mentoring? No, they will not. We were not easily accepting mentoring. We also told our parents they were below. We told our parents they were old school, they were old-fashioned, they don't know what is going on. We complained, we rebelled against them. The things our parents were hiding to do, we now do them in the open. Now our generation, we are able to take your boyfriend or your girlfriend home to introduce them to your mother. Those days you can't, they'll go and look for it for you. You understand? So in our time also, we rebelled against them, but they did not give up on us. They were firm, and they were resilient, and they shaped us. And today we think we are better people, but we are giving up on that next generation. We label them as lazy, and we just allow them to go, and they are getting away with a lot of things. I think as employers, I think as HR practitioners, we need to have a practical mentorship program in place where we are putting the Gen Zs in the custody or in the care of the millennials and then the Generation X or the Ys, to be able to mentor these ones and teach them the true rudiments for them to add to their creativity. That is the only way to be better people tomorrow. Else we'll leave a country, we'll leave a continent, we'll leave a world that will be lying in our graves and we'll be weeping because now it's a fast moving lane. Nothing, nobody wants to go through the difficult times. Nobody wants to, and I mean, it will be the order of the day. So something sustains for 5 years, it dies. Start a new one. You will not have even businesses living beyond 10 years. Because after 5 years, now it starts facing challenges, they kill it and they go and start something else. But if you have that other generation mentoring them, they will be able to do it the right way. So if there's a line, then that line has to be the mentorship, the coaching, the mentorship.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been very good. There's a particular word that has been overused, and so I'm going to avoid using that word. It has been abused too much, but it has been very enlightening. I'll use that word instead. Thank you so much, Kojo and Joy Dodu. Very true, insightful. Okay, that's the word. Insightful discussion. SIDAT HR conference premises, can't miss it. Of course, you cannot miss SIDAT HR conference, which is happening on the 26th of September at the McLean Hotel in Kumasi. And by the way, Kojo here happens to be on the panel for the HR conference. So if you enjoyed all this filler he gave us today, then you know the HR conference is going to be, as the Gen Z say, lit. So please make it a point to be there. Please go on to our social media handles, SIDAT HR Digest on YouTube, SIDAT Consult on Facebook. Look for us on IG, and you get all the necessary information, and then you call and you register. At the end of this broadcast, also we would also display the information, the flyer for the conference. And before I go, please, have you read the magazine, the HR Digest magazine? If you haven't, please, it's for free. If you don't buy it, it's for free. Please grab a copy. The only caveat that we issue is that please speak to the powers that be in your various corporate organizations and get them to come in and buy a slot for advertisement. That is how we're able to fund the free magazine. So please, that's the only support that we seek from you. But otherwise, the magazine is free. So make it a point to grab a copy. So all too soon. In fact, we've run way beyond our time. Thank you so much, Kojo, for your time and for your patience and for the wealth of knowledge that you have shared. I know for me, there's a lot of change of perspective from the knowledge you have shared, and I'm sure a number of people also agree with that. And so there's a lot to chew on, things to think and put in place to make things better than they are now. So thank you so much for your time, and for those who joined, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Let's all have a fantastic week and make a day to that again next Sunday as we have another episode of the CDAT HR Digest. Okay then, bye bye. My name is Ophelia, and see you later. Bye.